Tuesday. This is the How to Life podcast, and I am Dr. Laura Jaget. I'm your host, I'm your friend, and I am your guide to sorting out all of this adult stuff that they don't teach you in school. How can they really? You have to have your own experiences to learn things. But my goal, and the goal of this podcast, is to try to break it all down into small chunks of easy to understand, step-by-step instruction and advice. As promised in the last show, today's podcast is about how to buy a home. You are about to hear from not one, but two realtors who break down step by step all of the things to do to prepare for this major life event and how to make the process as easy and fun as possible. I didn't have any of this information when I bought my first home. I remember it felt very big with a lot of moving parts, and I was always worried that it wouldn't go through somehow, but I didn't know why at the time. I now know it's because I didn't know the process, so I just blindly went along. And I remember feeling really intimidated and kind of lame because I was 32 years old. I had a doctorate degree, I had a business, a family, but I didn't know how the home buying process went. And I also didn't have someone like these two ladies on my side. I'm grateful to have Kathy Castro and Judy Jackson from the Realty One group joining in today. They have 25 years of combined experience in this field, and they've put hundreds of people in their dream homes over the years. They joined forces recently, and together they're known as the Las Vegas Sports and Entertainment Team, and they've been helping many of the newly formed Las Vegas Raiders get settled here in Las Vegas, which is kind of cool. So, they're about to take you by the hand and guide you through this process. Listen in and see how easy and fun it actually can be. Welcome, Kathy and Judy. How are you?
Good, Laura.
Great.
Wonderful. All right. You are with Realty One Group, and you are the Las Vegas Sports and Entertainment Team.
Yes, we are.
Kathy, how long have you been a realtor?
Personally, I've been a realtor for about 15 years now.
And Judy, how about you?
I've been close to 10 years.
What brings you joy about helping people buy a home?
Well, I mean, there's no other feeling when you show up with a buyer's key. It's life-changing for a buyer to actually get their key, get their home, and sometimes there's tears, sometimes there's laughter, sometimes there's I've had people just run through the house screaming. So, I mean, that for me, that's probably one of my favorite parts is you're literally changing people's lives or else putting someone on a new adventure if they're selling their home. So, these are life-changing events for people, and to be involved in that is, it's a gift to be able to help someone like that.
This is a very young audience for the most part, and I know that there are many who are ready to buy a home or want to buy a home. They're at least thinking about it. So you have so much knowledge and experience, and you both are so patient and kind. So I'd like you to take the hands of these listeners and walk us through the process. How do you know when you're ready to buy a home?
I think it's a great question, Laura, because first of all, I just want to say to the young audience that you're never too young to buy a home, because you're always going to have responsibility, whether you're in an apartment or in a home. And it's much better to make that investment doing something with your money at a young age than, paying someone else's mortgage. So that's the first thing, is to already have the mindset that you are perfectly capable of buying a home. So I think that's step one, is actually believing that you're ready to buy a home. Even we've sold homes to 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds, and still in their homes. So perfectly capable at a young age to buy a home. So I think that's step one.
That's really good to know. How long should you prepare before you start the home buying process? And what's the first thing you should start doing?
I think, Dr. Jaget, establishing credit is the first thing. There's 4 simple things that you can do to establish that credit. The first thing is establish at least 3 to 5 trade lines. And those trade lines can consist of either a secured credit card, a department store credit card, or car loan. Just things where, once it comes to that time, you've established that credit. Now, when you have those trade lines, you have to be responsible and you have to make sure that you understand how to utilize that credit card. The next step would be to pay off those credit cards. So if you have a balance, pay that off in 30 days, not leaving it with a balance no more than 90 days. That helps establish that you are responsible to pay that credit card, and that helps your credit score. The third step would be, don't charge over your limit, at least 20%. Especially if you go over your credit limit, that hinders your credit.
So let me stop you there just a second.
Sure.
So 20% of your limit. So if you have a $1,000 limit, don't charge more than $200.
20% of that. Correct. Yeah, that helps you establish what they're looking for when you're using your card is, are you overusing? Are you over stretching yourself out? But if you keep at that limit, that will help the creditors look at, okay, this person's responsible, they're able to pay it, they're able to use it, pay it back. So it does help. The last thing is, at least 4 to 6 months to establish credit with those steps will get you the credit score that you need.
For 6 months before I go out to do that, I'm going to make sure that my credit score is good, that I'm showing that I'm using it responsibly, not maxing it out, paying it off on time, not carrying a balance.
Correct. And when I speak of trade lines, utility bills do not count.
So really, it's where you're actually borrowing money. Someone
correct.
Saying, all right, we're going to trust you, and we're going to let you borrow this money, and we want to watch you pay it back. That's what a trade line is.
Yes, correct.
All right, so credit. Establishing credit is the first step. So then the second step would be, I guess, saving money. So why do you need to save money when you are ready to buy a home?
When you're establishing that credit, right at that same timeline, you're going to want to start saving for a home. So when your parents told you to save, this is one of the reasons why. And a little tip, and even for myself, I have to remind myself, you always pay yourself first.
Tell me what that means.
Well, if you have your check that you've just got, it's a $1,000 check, and you have bills to pay. The first thing you want to do is you want to take out 10 or 20%, so $100 or $200 and anywhere in there to pay yourself, meaning for savings, not to go out and, have a party or, a night out in the town or something, but to actually put in a savings account. So that's what I mean by pay yourself is put it away, save it. So definitely, if you can do 20%, that would obviously be better. The rest of it, then you used for, your bills and the necessities of what you need for, for living. If you can do more than that, that's great. Right. But you definitely need to be saving your money because you will need a down payment.
What does a down payment mean?
A down payment is something that you're going to put down to get a loan. They're always going to require, a certain percentage. And usually a first-time home buyer is going to use an FHA loan, which consists of 3.5% of the purchase price. For example, if you have a, $250,000 home, and you would be doing an FHA loan, it's 3.5%, then their down payment on $250,000 would be $8,750. So that would be going towards their down payment. That's the money they need to bring. The balance of that is the loan that they will get financed.
So Kathy, you threw out FHA loan. What does that mean?
FHA loan is just a typical loan that most first-time home buyers use because it's the least amount of down payment that you can put down.
Are there any downsides to that?
No, as a matter of fact, FHA loans usually give you the lowest interest rate. So it's actually the best type of loan, even for someone that's not a first-time home buyer, is, they want to get the lowest interest rate and pay the least amount down. So that's actually a very, very popular loan, an FHA loan. One of the very first steps you're going to want to do in the process of home buying is get with a lender, because you're going to want to have your financial feet on the ground so that you are comfortable with the payment. You know exactly what that loan is. the structure of it. You just want to have it all mapped out. And a good lender, they will, say, well, this is going to be the best loan for you. So they're going to guide them down the right path that makes sense for them to purchase a home.
And the lender is in step 3. So we just finished with step 2, which was saving money. We want to have enough money for our down payment. And
they also have down payment assistant programs that they would perhaps qualify for.
How do you find that?
Through the lender.
How do you find a lender?
A lot of times people will start looking at who they bank with first. The realtor that you work with has worked with other lenders in the past. A lot of times we'll suggest a lender for them, and they can choose who they want. We always recommend that they do shop around for lenders to get the best rate, to get, because some lenders have their own different fees. So it's always good to shop around.
Is it best to find a real estate agent who can then sort of direct you? Or can you walk into your bank and say, this is what I want to do? Or you just go word of mouth?
Referrals is always good. I think, a person that has worked with either a lender or a realtor in the past and they've had a good experience is always the right way to go.
So this step is before you even go looking for your home. You want to get pre-qualified. You want to see how much you are qualified for and how
Correct.
much money you can spend on a home. So what does the lender do for you? What are the steps? What do we need to bring to a lender to get qualified?
Well, a lender is going to ask for your bank statements. They'll ask for maybe your last 2 years of taxes. And when you do find that lender, they're going to map it out for you of exactly what they need. Those are pretty much the 2 most asked for things from the lender are your bank statements and your last 2 years of your tax returns. So of course they're gonna ask you for all the other details, where you work and how long, and they're gonna pull your credit score and what have you. But they're gonna make it very easy for them, because once they find that lender, they're just gonna say, send me 1, 2, 3, 4. Send me these items, and then we're gonna pull your credit, and then off we go.
Does the lender just crunch numbers, or is there any way they can help you in a way?
Oh no, they'll be holding their hand the whole way through. The lender and the realtor are your 2 key players in helping you buy a home and get to the finish line. Those 2 people are very, very important.
How does the lender get paid? Does the buyer have to pay him or her?
So lenders charge different fees, and as Judy was mentioning, that's why you should shop around. And a new buyer may not know. Well, I'm not going to know the difference between how much this lender charges me or another lender charges me. This is all new to them. So that's why it may be better to start with a realtor first, so that they can actually either guide you to a good lender, or they can kind of watch their back and say, well, let me see what those fees are so that I can help you. Because you really need kind of that person that you can trust from the beginning, that's going to start helping you go through each of these steps. And it feels better when you already have that person in your circle of trust.
What is a good interest rate, and how is that determined?
Well, the interest rate right now is under 3, which is amazing. That's historically low. So that's a fabulous interest rate. So anyone buying a home right now is getting the best interest rates that I've ever seen. That's determined by the stock market and what's happening in the economy. That's how interest rates are determined.
Can your credit affect it, help you, or hurt you?
Absolutely. So if you have better credit, you could get a better interest rate. So the better your credit, the lower your interest rate.
What does mortgage mean?
Mortgage is your loan, and every month you have to pay that mortgage company whatever that amount that you set in your paperwork. That is your mortgage payment that you are paying to the mortgage company.
And they are also holding the home. You don't own it outright, you own it with the mortgage company. Is that
Yes.
right? How do you figure out the cost of your monthly mortgage payment? Is that done by the lender, or is there a calculator online you can figure this out?
Yeah, it is definitely done by the lender. I would not use a calculator online because that does not give you accurate fees at all. You don't have the current interest rates. You don't have what your credit score is. You don't have other factors plugged in there. You don't have the taxes of the home that you're going to buy. There's so many different factors. So you just can't take a roundabout number and use a calculator. You definitely need that lender, then that lender's expertise to help you come up with that mortgage payment.
Abby's right. Let's not forget, other fees such as if your home has a homeowners association, all of that factors in to your payment.
But you need the lender to give you the hard number.
You do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the prep work. So now once you've done all of that, the fun stuff happens.
Yeah, the fun begins.
What do you tell your real estate agent? How do they find a home for you?
Your realtor will set you up with their MLS service, which is a service realtors have access to all the homes in the state. But of course, with technology, there's Zillow. People go to look for homes online. We never suggest that because a lot of times those sites don't update as frequently and as accurate as we would like. But we don't discourage, but we do encourage that you use our MLS, which is more real time, more accurate, and they'll get the homes automatically through their email, and they can just shop on there and save the homes they like. And once we know which homes they want to see, then, we'll take them on a tour and show them around.
What does MLS stand for?
Multiple listing service.
And your job as the real estate agent is to do the footwork. You take their wish list, you put in the filters, it pulls up homes that are similar to what they want, and then just you hone in on it for them.
Exactly, yeah. There's research that we have to do once they do pick out the homes, that we have to make sure that it's available to view, or there's not some weird criteria on top of it that's going to make it difficult for them to get that home. Or there's research involved that we have to do so that we know it's going to fit their needs for how they want to buy a house.
So let's say we're ready to buy a house. I've picked it. Do I have to pay the price they're asking, or can I offer something different?
You can negotiate, though. It all depends on the timing of the offer and what the market is.
Yes, and as Judy said, it really does depend. I mean, what happens if there's multiple offers? Well, then that's not going to put them in a position to go lower. Or, so there are other extenuating circumstances. And, we would run comps on that property. Comps are comparables or other properties and how they've just recently sold, so that we know where that property is where the value of that property is at that current moment. So we will know if that price that is being, presented, if that's a good price or not, if it's too high or if it's too low, by looking at the other most recent sales in the neighborhood. And then we can also guide them by that as well.
So let's say offer was accepted. What do we do now?
You open escrow. Everyone wants to know, what the heck is escrow? So escrow basically is a secure holding area where important items like the earnest money and contracts, and we're going to get into earnest money in a minute because that's a new term. I just want to explain this. They're kept at what you call a title company until the transaction closes. And title is basically a neutral third party, making sure everything proceeds smoothly, including the transaction of money and documents, and holds the assets safely in an escrow account until they can be dispersed.
How long is the escrow period usually?
It's usually 30 days, but that's set in the contract. You can make escrow 2 months. That may not be acceptable to the seller, but it's negotiated. But the typical is about 30 days.
Oh, let's go back to earnest money. So tell me about earnest money.
Earnest money is something you put as good faith towards the property. It goes towards your down payment. So it's not just free money that you're throwing out there. For like a $250,000 home, it'd probably be $2,000. That would be my guess. And that's also negotiable. You don't have to you could negotiate in the contract. Maybe you want it to be $1,500. But that goes towards your down payment. So if you're doing, say, that FHA loan, it goes towards that 3.5%. And that gets put in there like within the first 1 or 2 days after time of acceptance.
Can anybody bail out within this escrow period?
Absolutely.
What happens to your earnest money if you, as the buyer, decide you're not going to go through with it?
Well, there's actually quite a few buyer protections during the escrow period. Once you sign on that dotted line and you've got the acceptance, it doesn't mean you're all in. You put one foot in, you maybe get a little bit closer. You literally take steps as you go through there. So it's not as scary as many people think when you're buying a home, because it's a process. So we want to kind of take you through these buyer protections. So Judy, why don't you tell them about the 10-day due diligence?
So the first 10 days, once you have an acceptance on the offer, you have a 10-day due diligence period. That is the time you inspect your home and make sure this home is for you. You can cancel for any reason in those 10 days and get your earnest money back.
That's a first buyer protection right there, is you have 10 days. You can change your mind because you don't like the color of the flowers in front of the house for any reason. The next thing is the appraisal. The property has to appraise. Whatever that agreed upon price is, it has to appraise. And what that means is the buyer's lender is going to hire a completely neutral third-party appraiser. They go out to the house. They make sure that the property appraises for the value that has been agreed upon by buyer and seller. If it doesn't, then the buyer and seller are going to have to go back and negotiate. So let's say it comes in lower by $5,000. Maybe the seller will lower that all the way by $5,000. Maybe they won't. Maybe they want the buyer to bring in additional funds. If they can't come to terms, then you could actually cancel and get your earnest money back at that time. I do want to mention that if it appraises for more on the other side, then that's just great for the buyer. You don't change the price. It still stays at where they agreed upon. It's just the buyer now has built-in equity moving forward. It only changes when it's lower than the agreed upon price. That's a buyer protection, just because you want to make sure that that property is worth what you're going to pay for it.
Okay, and then during this period, if you buy a home in a HOA, which is Homeowners Association, there are rules that you need to agree to.
Right. Yes, and as a buyer, you have 5 days to review the rules and regulations for the HOA. So if the buyer does not agree with the rules and regs, then you can cancel and get your earnest money back.
I see that there is another buyer protection called loan contingency. What does loan contingency mean?
Loan contingency is it's contingent upon the buyer qualifying for the property. Now, in the beginning, the lender said, yes, you do qualify, but there's still a process that has to go through. There's still documents that are needed as you go through. Something could happen, I don't know, the buyer could lose their job, or there could be a document that pops up. There could be a tax lien that all of a sudden surprises in the middle. So we usually make that loan contingency for the length of the escrow, because that way it protects the buyer. It gives them the best protection in case some weird monkey wrench gets thrown in there that we didn't expect, because now they can get their earnest money back if they didn't qualify for that.
How much does it cost to have a real estate agent help you buy a home?
On the buying side, it's free. It's zero. You do not have any fees for a realtor as a buyer, because the way it's structured in the state of Nevada is the seller pays both sides. They pay for the buyer's agent's fees and their own realtor. So when you're selling, it's not so much fun, but when you're a buyer, you have no realtor fees.
So if you're buying a home, there is no reason to do this yourself.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
That takes the stress out of everything. How else can a real estate agent benefit you?
Many people think when they're looking at new home builds, they're thinking, okay, well, when I go in there, there's a realtor there. What they don't understand is their due diligence is to look out for the builders. Before you go in there, you want to make sure you have your own realtor. That way you're protected. You have someone looking for your best interest through the whole transaction. Because once you enter in there without one, that realtor at that new build construction site is your realtor. And again, you don't know them.
You definitely want to have someone on your side. And there's no reason to not have someone on your side, especially since it doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah, many people have no idea that when they walk into a new home development and they walk in without their realtor, they're literally just going to shut that door on actually having representation, because they walk in without their realtor, they assume you don't have one, and now they're your realtor, the builder's realtor. So you really need to walk into that new home development with your own representation so that someone is there to watch your back. Yes, that's a big one. Very important.
Now, tell me what are closing costs and what is paid out of the closing costs?
Well, closing costs are the title fees, their fees that they're paying to the lender. You know, sometimes there's HOA, sometimes they have transfer fees or different things. So it's accumulation of fees that are coming from various places, and they usually are about 2.5% of the purchase price. It's great when we can negotiate to have the seller pay for the closing costs, because then the buyer doesn't have to pay for them, or even a portion of them. Sometimes we're able to get, you know, let's say their closing costs are $5,000. Maybe we negotiate $2,500. So now it's a less amount that the buyer has to bring to the table because we're having the seller pay for half of them.
So with the down payment of 3.5% and the closing costs of 2.5%, it's a wise idea to just earmark 6% of what your estimated purchase price is going to be.
Correct. Start saving at least 6%.
And so here's a couple of things, and this is where the lender can kind of get in there and start structuring the loan based on how your needs are. The lender can actually give the buyer a credit towards closing costs, but they're going to take a little bit of a hit for the interest rate. But with as low as the interest rates are, that could totally be worth it to them because they may not have closing costs. I mean, I've had a lender pay almost all the closing costs for a buyer completely, but their interest rate went up a little bit. It made like $100 difference or so in their payment, but it was totally worth it to them because they didn't have $6,000 laying around that they could use for closing costs. So, you know, it was worth it for them. And then you have to think about how long you're going to be in that house for. You're not going to be in the house for 30 years. Who cares?
Right. All right. Well, that sounds exciting and easy. Now that you know what you're facing, you can prepare and then just really enjoy the process.
Absolutely, yes. So, as we mentioned in the beginning, definitely getting your financial feet on the ground with the lender, having all that mapped out in the beginning just takes away all the stress.
As a buyer, to help the real estate agent out, just mind your P's and Q's, right? Don't make any mistakes. Just keep everything paid up to date, and let's just get through this.
Yes, and whatever your lender tells you to do, do it.
Don't make any additional purchases. I have actually had someone drive up in a new car on a walkthrough. So, yeah, we made him take it back. But after you close, you can do whatever you want, but you cannot go buy anything, any other purchase on your credit card, anything. Like you want to go buy a refrigerator for the house? No. Wait.
Ladies, tell us a little bit about sports and entertainment. You are housing some exciting, high-profile people.
We are actually helping the Las Vegas Raiders currently right now transition into Vegas. We started Las Vegas Sports and Entertainment team so that we could specialize in pro athletes and celebrities about, Judy, a year and 2 months ago?
Yeah.
It's been pretty amazing, and because of it, we've actually become better realtors because we've had to do so much more than just maybe a regular realtor would do because you have to learn more, reach more. You know, we started the YouTube channel, so we were constantly reaching for information, you know, along this journey that we've had.
You have a lot of good information on your YouTube channel. Why don't you tell me about that?
Oh, goodness, yeah. Our YouTube channel, which is the Las Vegas Real Estate Resource Gals, is full of all kinds of, you know, buying information. We actually we have a whole video that we do on buyer protections on there. Any kind of resources for buying, selling. We also feature homes on there that we've videoed and we view, both rentals and homes for sale, little places to eat, places about Las Vegas. We visit the whole city, so there's lots of resources for people.
And you have a Facebook page, Instagram, LinkedIn. You're easily accessible. Kathy, Judy, thank you very much. We're grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jaget.
All right, good luck, ladies.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye. I wish I had known these steps. That alone would have made me feel more relaxed when I bought my first home. If you'd like to check out all the information and resources that Kathy and Judy have put together, check out their YouTube channel, LV Real Estate Resource Gals. Or you can find them on Instagram at LV Sports and Entertainment and their Facebook page, LV Sports and Entertainment Realtors. I'm going to put all these links as well as all their contact information in the show notes at howtolife.com/011. Wasn't this helpful? If you have a moment, please give this show a 5-star rating in Apple or your podcast platform. And if you feel inspired right now, please leave a nice review as well. And if you know someone who could use this information, feel free to share it. Let's spread the word. I hope you'll join me again next week on the How to Life podcast for more talks, instruction, and guidance on how to do and get through all sorts of adult stuff. Let me know if there's anything specific that you'd like to know. You can send me an email to drlj@howtolife.com, and who knows, your topic might just show up here. Goodbye for now, everybody. Go out there and enjoy life and have fun. Intend to make it a great week. Don't worry about anything. Life is good. You got this.